The Luna Ultra, sometimes when I use it and I look back at the footage, there are moments where I'm genuinely very impressed with how far we've come in terms of camera technology. And then there's other times when I look at the footage and I'm like, what the The Luna Ultra has a lot going for it. I mean, in terms of features, it is so rich. Detachable screen that turns into a microphone. That's never been done before. That's pretty innovative and actually really clutch and helpful in a ton of scenarios. Great stabilization. The colors are much better than I honestly expected. And iLog definitely has 14 or 15 stops of dynamic range, and is very, very usable for color grading and just cinematic application. For context, I had to go to south of France for Cannes Lions Festival. And with the experience that I've had, I already knew last year it was an almost impossible task to lug around a gimbal and a really big camera to shoot content, because it is, there's a heat wave, there's dehydration, you're malnourished because you're walking 10 to 12 hours a day going from one place to the next. And so you never really have time to relax. And carrying a really big rig is not optimal for this situation. So the Luna came out right before I needed to go, and I decided to pick it up. Obviously, the reviews and everything I was seeing from the Luna really impressed me, and I thought it would be the perfect companion to take with me to south of France. Obviously, I'm not an idiot. I mean, I would hope not. And so I did my own testing with the Luna right before I left and compared it to my Nikon ZR to see, how well could it blend with pocket-sized, mirrorless camera that I take with me just in case, like, I wanted a little bit extra higher quality or some low light shots. And my genuine first impressions, mind you, without the ND filter, was that this camera is actually really good. Fast forward to south of France, 3 days in, I had shot a ton of content, no downtime to honestly relax and even just review the content. I was having 4 hours of sleep every night. And then I'm sitting down at this French-Italian restaurant, eating from a charcuterie board, chilling, scrolling through threads and Twitter. There's a big thing going on. There's a problem with auto ISO. And mind you, I've been using auto ISO the entire time. That's kind of why I got the thing, is because I wanted to shoot first and think last. And so I was like, wait, what are you talking about? What's going on with auto ISO? Is there a problem? I pay the server and I rush to the Airbnb to make sure that my footage is all right. Heart's racing. I had shot 3 days of content. Start uploading the footage. I don't even let the footage finish. I put it into DaVinci, slap a power grade on it, and I'm like, I'm good. I'm good. The footage looks good for the most part. Anytime that there was a scenario that was either backlit or underlit, it was a little mushy, and it was just a little too mushy to my taste. I wouldn't consider it usable footage. It's not completely unusable. There might be ways to finesse certain pieces, but for the most part, I was quite disappointed and actually, quite frankly, frustrated with the outcome. But luckily, I always had my Lumix with me to cover me and always take some extra shots. I started to do some digging, try to figure out, okay, what was the issue? If I can't use auto ISO, what can I use? And so some people said you could use ISO 800, which is the base ISO. Okay, so I went out, did 5 to 10 minutes of testing, because that's all the time I could. And I tried using ISO 800, and it was just so noisy and just so bad that I was trying to figure out an alternative solution, because I couldn't just shoot 800 ISO without knowing exactly what I'm getting myself into. So I had two choices: either try manual 800 ISO and denoise, and I figured the noise was a little too much for my taste, or I could remove the one variable that I didn't have when I was shooting my test and all the footage looked good, which was the ND filters. And although I wouldn't have motion blur, at the very least, I would have a clearer potential for like a clean, clear, sharper image. And for the most part, I was successful. There are still certain scenarios where it just wasn't enough, and I still had to deal with that, over denoising, over processed image. Luckily, they are working on it as far as I'm concerned, as far as what people are saying. And I did get a ton of great footage out of it. If you're a complete beginner and you're going to be shooting auto everything, but not iLog, just like standard profile, you might have like one of the best pocket-sized cameras in your hands, because I think this only affects iLog. If you are looking at this camera as a cinematic companion, just like pocket-sized cinematic companion, then you will have to figure out whether right now is the best time and whether you're willing to fight against the Luna to get the image you are looking for. And also, can you sacrifice not putting on an ND filter? Because you are way off. Like if you are putting in an ND filter, you're gonna have a much more difficult time. And I'll tell you why. If you're shooting auto ISO, well then there's more potential for you to be in darker scenarios and backlit scenarios where the signal gets boosted in some weird way, and then you get that weird denoise. And let's say you do manual 800 ISO, there's no way to access ISO mid-shot. And chances are, because it's so unintuitive to access the ISO menu, you're probably going to forget and not really check into your ISO as often as you'd think. Because I thought I would do it, I definitely didn't. The ceiling for this camera is so much higher than it currently is right now. They just have a ton of bugs to fix. It just like sucks. It's pretty disappointing that we're here now, because the features and everything that come with this camera are just so amazing. Initially, I was going to do a video where I was just going to say all these positive things because of my first impression. I was completely wowed. And then a couple weeks later, I had a reality check, and I figured rather than just going all in, all positive on this camera, let me just say the truth. The truth is, it's a really great piece of equipment, but I wouldn't feel nice recommending something to someone without necessarily giving them all the nuances and the pros and cons. So, still happy, still positive. I'm still getting a kick out of it. It just sucks that, there's so many hoops to jump through to get it to work the way you want. Here's an example. Right now I'm at plus 1.3. If you don't overexpose the camera, you're going to get a lot of noise in your footage. I honestly would probably even expose a little bit higher and clip some of those highlights. You will get a maximum dynamic range out of 800 ISO. Like you're gonna reach the ceiling on both ends. But you will have to sacrifice either a lot of noise in your shadows or clipped highlights. And even if you go to ISO 100 or 400, you're gonna clean up the image, but you're gonna end up clipping anyway. So you might as well pick one or go to ISO 800 and just overexpose a whole ton. They just dropped an update. It's not out in the app yet, but some people have been dropping it on Reddit, and you finally get like LUT preview or like color preview on your iLog footage in the camera. So right now, as I'm looking at it, let me see if I can get a shot. As I'm looking at it, there is color in the shot, and this is not standard. This is iLog. So yeah, I have yet to see if the actual quality's been improved. Maybe some of the noise isn't as bad and the gain boosting isn't as crazy, but let's see what's up.